So again, we're coming back to painting enlightenment, and we have Venerable Juewei today here, teaching us about the Dharma on the Heart Sutra, based on reflections on some of the paintings. So a little bit about the Venerable. Venerable Juewei holds a PhD in religious studies, a Master of Arts in Buddhist studies, a Master of Business Administration, and a Master of Science in Computer Science and Engineering. Venerable began her career as an applied research R&D engineer in artificial intelligence systems in the 1980s, however, made her millennial decision to join the Fo Guangshan order when she realized that she could be of best service to humanity through promoting humanistic values in an increasingly divided world. Venerable is now head of program for Applied Buddhist Studies and the Humanistic Buddhism, director of the Humanistic Buddhist Center, and senior lecturer at Nantian Institute in Australia, where she teaches subjects supported by her research. Wow, Venerable, so much knowledge and so many degrees. It's amazing. And today will be an interactive session like always. So Venerable will start with the topic, meditation, interactive exercises, and Mayan will jump in to facilitate the talk. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. And if you don't feel comfortable to share with everyone, you could also send questions anonymously to Mayan and she can read it out for us. And this session will be recorded and uploaded onto YouTube. Without further ado, over to you, Venerable.
Thank you so much, Sophia. And thank you to everyone for being here, both on site and online. First, I'd like to thank Tina and her team, this fabulous team, for putting together these Dharma talks, these nourishing Dharma sessions for all of us. So before I go any further, can I just check that everyone online can hear me? If anybody can't, just please say so. Yes, good. Thank you so much for all the magical, invisible hands behind the scene. As you know now, it takes many, many conditions to get something together. So I'd like to begin with the beautiful tradition of Australia by first acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which Metta Center stands, and my research tells me it is the Daruk and Yora people, and pay respects to their elders past and present, and extend those respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and also to the traditional custodians of the lands on which you all reside, and to their elders past and present. I think that today, the fact that we all can come together, and for me, this is my first on-site hybrid presentations since COVID. So I'm really excited, although I don't know how this will go, but I really hope that you will join me in a series of, I would say, I hope, nourishing Dharma sessions, which will begin with a mindful check-in session, a meditation session, which you normally do here in Metta Center. After which I will introduce to you the artist, a Japanese scientist artist, Iwasaki Tsuneo, and Professor Paula Arai, who wrote this book, Painting Enlightenment, which I will use. After that contextual introduction, we will start our workshops. So what will happen is that I will introduce 2 pieces of art at a time, give you a little bit of background about that art piece. But while I do so, I'll ask you to journal if you can. Either you have a piece of paper on your device, a digital device, just write down some of your immediate thoughts so you don't lose them. If you could do that, it would be really nice. I don't know if Mayan, we can have some pieces of paper or something that we can send around the team, so that you have an opportunity to capture your immediate reactions. Then we will have breakout groups where we can then share among ourselves to see what is it that we've gotten out of these incredible artworks. We'll see how many rounds we can do, either 2 or 3 rounds, depending on the time. We'll have a little question and answer session before we do our dedication of merits at the end. Would that be okay with everyone? Is that good? All right. So moving on. Usually in our classrooms at the Nantian Institute where I teach, we begin with what we call mindfully checking in. And it's an opportunity for us to put aside wherever we've come from, whatever we have done, and instead just focus on the present. So we've done this enough number of times that we decided to do an app. So I'm going to play that app so all of us could just sit for about 5 or so minutes, 5 to 6 minutes, and we'll progress after that. So let's give this a go.
It is now time to check in. From wherever you've come, that is now behind you. Let's focus on the present, because there is nothing more important than the gift of the moment. Please ensure that you are in a safe place. You may either sit or stand with your spine upright. If your legs are crossed, uncross them. Place your hands on your sides or on your lap. Gently close your eyes. We will begin by scanning the body for any areas of tightness and relaxing those tensions. Let's start from the top of your head. Relax. Relax your forehead, your eyes, your ears, your facial muscles, your lips. Relax. Feel tensions evaporating from your head. And now, let's move on to your neck muscles. Relax. Shoulders. Upper arms. Lower arms. Hands. Fingers. Slowly let them go. Now work your way down the spinal cord. Relax one vertebra at a time. Your thigh muscles, calf muscles, your feet, toes. Feel all tensions melting into Mother Earth. The next step is to scan for any remaining areas of tension and anxieties. Honor them and the conditions that have led to their arising. Gently, ever so gently, let these tensions and anxieties out of the body and your system. Now that the body is completely relaxed, let's slowly bring your attention to the tip of your nose. Breathe. Watch every in-breath and out-breath, without control and without judgments. There is nowhere else to go and nothing else to do. Simply continue to watch your breath until you hear the sound of the bell. Slowly bring your awareness away from the breath to your ears. Hear what is going on around you, still maintaining a quiet body and mind. Gradually move your attention to the eyes. Gently open your eyes and smile. Be grateful to all the conditions that give you whatever you have before you. You are now ready for the miraculous moment to be the best that you can be.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to check in together for a few minutes. Before I begin the main session of today's time together, I would like to add a word of dedication to my late teacher, Venerable Master Xing Yun, who decided to renew his journey in life in a different form earlier in February this year. The Venerable Master was an avid calligrapher, especially in the later part of his life. Even though his hands were trembling in his 90s and his shoulder was aching from the weight of carrying that brush, but he told himself every day he will write 100 pieces of calligraphy and he will not eat or sleep unless he has finished his daily homework. And why does he insist on doing that in spite of the pain that he's feeling? Because he said that in his 90s, what else can he give the world but the Dharma joy that's in his heart? That even though he could hardly see, he's always in a wheelchair, he says, I'm not sick. He doesn't feel that he's ill. He just says, I'm inconvenienced, but he's happy. And he notices that many of us are not. So he wants to give us his words of wisdom. And at his age, the only thing he could do is to write these one-stroke calligraphy because he can't see. He has to complete everything in one stroke. And I've watched my master do this. It's almost like Kung Fu because he would first think, what is that gift that he wants to give, the Dharma word? And then I'll see him purse his lips, after which, in one stroke, he will write it, while the disciple sitting on the other end of the table will be pulling the scroll, the paper, at exactly the same rate that he's writing. And if it's not good, he will repeat. And he has to do this 100 times in spite of the pain that he's experiencing. That's the spirit. I think that I hope that we are starting to realize what's suffering. What's suffering when one has a mission, and a mission of generosity, of Dharma joy, and wanting to gift that to the world. So to my great teacher, I dedicate any merits from today's session of all of us Dharma friends together. May he quickly return and help us through what would be rather turbulent times ahead for us. So today, I'm going to introduce to you Iwasaki Tsuneo. And he's a scientist turned artist. He was a biologist by training and a school teacher. But unfortunately, at the age of about 24, in 1942, he was enlisted into the army, the Japanese army, and he went to the front lines during the war. Very sad times, very traumatic times for this young man. So when the war ended in 1945, he was placed in an internment camp by the Australians. He didn't have much to eat. Life was not pleasant. And he didn't get to go home until 1946 at the age of 29. So you can imagine this young man, his best time in his 20s spent in war and what kind of trauma he's been through. So he went back and continued his career as a biologist, teaching biology, but he's a researcher. So he also publishes widely in national conferences. But all this while, we know what's going on behind him, this post-trauma that he has to handle. And this suffering, he had to look for somewhere for solace. And what did he find? The Buddhist Dharma. He found the Heart Sutra. So he took the Buddhist Dharma Heart Sutra. He used his scientific skills of being able to study reality to fine details, he combined them into art. Now, he didn't pick up art till in his 60s, which means a lot of us here will still have an opportunity to pick up art. And if you look at what he has done, you will appreciate how he has internalized the Heart Sutra to help him turn suffering into non-suffering. So the basic tenet of what he's thinking is this. He says clinging onto anything, which is like, his wartime memories, clinging onto that suffering is like in a quicksand. You will only sink. If we cling, we will sink. Okay? So like the quicksand. So what do? He found the concept of emptiness so profound. And when we talk about emptiness, what are we empty of? In Heart Sutra, it tells us that we are empty of independent existence, which means that if we are empty of independent existence, we are full of connections. Right? We've made space for all that connections. So he recognizes interdependent flux of dynamic activity as the key to get him out of suffering. So not to hang on to those memories as though we're stuck with it forever, but to recognize that this emptiness, that is interdependent energies that's flowing through him, is also form. One of the famous verse in the Heart Sutra, emptiness is form is emptiness. So what does a form mean? Form means we can do a lot in the present. What we do matters. That's emptiness is form. And form is emptiness. Don't cling onto it. Let it go. Form is emptiness. So he recognized that not in the abstract, but by observing with a scientific inquiry mind everything that's going on around him. And he proved to himself how the natural world operates. Indeed, is this set of emptiness teachings. And that's how he walked himself out of his suffering and gifted the world with his incredible paintings. So what we do really matter? Iwasaki is a visionary thinker who cared deeply about the fate of the world. So it's not just getting himself out of his suffering, but where's the world going? He recognizes some of the follies of the world, the troubles of the world. After all, he has been through war. And that's how he wants to use his painting to create an alternative, a more compassionate world. So he believes in the healing wisdom of the Heart Sutra. So Heart Sutra means so much to him. And he equates ultimate truth of emptiness with phenomenal reality. So emptiness and reality. Okay, emptiness is form, form is emptiness. Before each time he does his painting, he will consecrate his workspace and the painting. So he will have incense burning, he will chant, he will pray before he starts the work. And I hope that when you look at his paintings later, you will see how his religious belief, his faith makes his painting really sacred. And we are very fortunate to be able to see his paintings because of this professor. Professor Paula Arai wrote this book after she spent 3 years with him. She was on sabbatical for 3 years in Japan studying healing rituals and found Iwasaki and just managed to spend this time talking to Iwasaki. Paula Arai now is in the faculty of the Institute of Buddhist Studies in California, that's right next to UC Berkeley. UC Berkeley. She came from the Louisiana State University in the US, and her work is grounded in ethnographic research. But what's very special about her is that she communicates through poetic writings. So the book, the writing really touches the heart so much. She engages in what she calls immersive poetic storytelling. That's why I find this medium of conveying the experiential dimension of Buddhist teachings so powerful that I'm just compelled to want to share it with you today. Paula curated exhibits of Iwasaki's paintings around the world as well in museums, universities, and conferences for over 8 years. It would be great if you could invite her. She would be the best person to talk about it. So consider me a second-hand person just communicating to you and facilitating the workshop today so that we all can experience this. Or else buy the book. I don't get any commission for this, by the way. I'm just so touched by what I have seen, that's all. So what we'll do in a few minutes is that I'm going to talk about 2 paintings at a time. And as I speak, I will offer you a little bit of time also to do your journaling so you can capture your thoughts. I don't know about you. I have grown so old that I realize all my great thoughts, if I don't capture them, they are lost. So in case you're like me too, please feel free to write down what is it that captured you. I will offer you 1 minute of silence at the end of each painting. So you can write down whatever you want, but I put some questions here in case you are interested in my guided questions. And they are: 1, what first captured your attention in the painting? So when I show you the painting, what is it that captured your attention? Was it a detail? Was it a feeling? Was it a particular figure? You decide. What was the first thing you see? 2nd, what mood or emotion? How did you feel when you saw the painting? Then, as I introduced the painting, what insights did you capture? Right? What is that piece of wisdom that you see from the Heart Sutra? And finally, was there any new meaning to you that you have gotten from this experience that you think you can apply to some aspect of your life? I think these are very much questions that are very practical. And it's a kind of also learning to contemplate, just learning to pause, ask some deep questions, and then checking in with ourselves. After that private contemplation moments, Mayan and team will help us to get into breakout rooms. I think Mayan will perhaps facilitate maybe 3 breakout rooms here. And online, Sophia could help us to maybe break out into however many you see, 3 to 4 per breakout room. And then we can share what we have journaled. Is that good, my friends? Do you think you can manage that with me? We'll give it 1 try and then we'll see what your feedback is. How about that? Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Right, let's look at the first picture. Compassion ripples. This is the picture that I've used in my title slide as well as my subtitle pages. It's entitled Compassion Ripples. And to me, nothing is more important than compassion. My late teacher, Venerable Master Xing Yun says, we don't have to be very smart. We don't have to be very clever. We don't even have to remember everything that was taught to us, but we mustn't lose compassion. So I'm hoping as I grow older, even if I lose my memory, please, please don't let me lose my compassion. And if nothing else, let it grow as from day to day. So in this painting, Paula writes that a brood of ducklings swims in the protective wake of the Heart Sutra ripples. So if you look at those ripples on this is actually made up of the Heart Sutra, okay, written in Chinese kanji characters. Isn't that sweet? So sweet. But what does it really mean? It says here that the mother, if you look at the mother duck, is looking back compassionately to see, oh, children, are you coming along? Are you following? Are you fine back there? So Iwasaki is now trying to show a compassionate relationship between parent and children. How the parent takes care of the children, and the children all are embraced in the compassion of the parent. Now, Iwasaki paints this knowing that not all parent-child relationships are this way. So he's painting it to say, this is what it could be and what it should be. Because Iwasaki feels so saddened that during this time that he's living in, he saw parents killing children and children killing parents for money, for inheritance, and all these squabbles. And he said, that's no way to live. Instead, look at the animals. The animal kingdom seems to have gotten it right. They know to protect their children. And so Iwasaki painted this as a prayer of compassion in a hope for suffering to end, when we can experience the universe as a vast interdependent web where we are parent and we are children. Just like what the Heart Sutra tells us. So it also makes me recall the words of my former teacher, Dr. Louis Lancaster in the US. In his most recent talk last Saturday, he said that compassion can only come from one who has understood the human condition. And I think Iwasaki proves that. He understood the human condition, but he doesn't cling on to it. He says it could be better. And he uses his art to express it. So I'd like to invite you to take a minute now to just look at this painting. What or how has this painting opened your heart of compassion? How are you held in love? Or you may use my guiding questions from the earlier slide. What first captured your attention in this painting? What mood or emotion did you feel? What insights did you gain from my introduction earlier? And was there any new meaning for you that you could apply to your life? And let's take 1 minute. All right, my friends, are we ready to move on to the next painting? Okay, the next one is called the Mandala of Evolution. It doesn't appear so well on this particular through this projector. So I'm going to pass the book around so that you can take a look at it while I talk through it. So this second painting is still on the theme of family. It's entitled The Mandala of Evolution. And what Paula tells us is that Iwasaki spent 2 years to do this particular painting. I'm going to tell you why it takes so long. It is his vision of enlightened reality. He was inspired by the question, who are my ancestors? Who are my ancestors? Where do I come from? It's very Buddhist, right? Where do I come from? Who are my ancestors? So he was inquiring into dependent co-arising and the nature of emptiness, and his answer is this mandala. So it starts with a pilgrim, and in case you can't see the pilgrim, I use a dotted arrow to show you. So it's this pilgrim inquiring, who are my ancestors? And what he did was, as a contemplative pilgrim, he starts with representing, my ancestors, father and mother. So the father is a white Buddha and the mother is a red Buddha. And then from this father and mother, we go into 2 parents, into 4 grandparents. So father, mother, red and white Buddhas. Now that's very significant. First of all, to say that men and women both have Buddha nature. They can be Buddhas, right? And on top of that, you have connection across these Buddhas. They are family of Buddhas. And so he went back 30 generations of parents, and all these Buddhas were around there. And circling among the Buddhas are the words of the Heart Sutra. And the Heart Sutra goes in both directions to show that dynamic flux, that you can go in clockwise, you can go counterclockwise. So this is a beautiful mandala, but it doesn't end there. After 30 generations of Buddhas, which is a lot of Buddhas, then at the side of the mandala are all the other parts of the cosmos, including things like, let's see, what have we got? We've got starfish, we've got amoeba, protein molecules, dinosaurs, conifers, cherry blossoms, just to name a few. So we've got many other parts of the cosmos, all related in this mandala together with the Buddhas, but circling around and protecting the mandala is this golden dragon. If you look at the golden dragon, it is swallowing its own tail. What that means is the Heart Sutra, no beginning, no end. I mean, this is such a I guess, amazing, I don't know what word to use to describe his perception of reality. So the mandala of evolution, who is in my family. And this particular mandala also tries to express that there's no difference between people, animals, and plants, because we're just different groupings of carbon, of hydrogen, calcium, iron, and all the other elements. That's all. We're all the same in this mandala. This particular mandala reminds me of James Bridle's latest book, Way of Being, in which he writes, every time we train our most sophisticated tools upon the central questions of our existence, who are we? Where do we come from? Where are we going? The answer always comes back to the same thing. Everyone and everywhere. Emptiness. Everyone, everywhere, everything. That's where we come from. So, over to you, my friends, for you to take a closer look at this mandala of evolution, especially given what I've said. How has this painting opened your heart of wisdom? And what you consider to be your family? Who are your family members? Or you may consider my guiding questions. What first captured your attention in the painting? What mood or emotion did you feel? And what insights did you gain? Was there any new meaning that you could apply in your life? The minute is yours. All right, my friends, we're about to begin the fun part of the exercise. I'm going to ask the IT team, the IT magician in the back end, to get ready, as we will be putting ourselves into random groups of 3 to 4 persons for the next, at most, 10 minutes. We'll see how we go. Please feel free to introduce yourselves to one another and discuss whatever you have written in your journal. Choose one of the exercise, one of the paintings, go around in a circle where everybody gets to speak. And then if there's enough time, you can go a second round. But I think what's important is also help one another by asking deeper questions to help us to do the contemplation. We are here as friends in the Dharma and to help one another. Would that be all right? Any questions before we break? Is that good? I'm going to leave this up there. So IT, over to you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Hi. Did you have a good session in your breakout rooms? Would anyone like to share with me maybe your insights? You may either type in the chat or you can just unmute and share with us. Maybe a minute or two for someone to share any insights you may have, and anybody on site, you can just grab hold of the microphone and share with us. Anyone? Yes?
Terry?
Oh, yay, thank you. Just your name first. Just give us your name.
Hi, my name's Terry. We were looking mostly at the first painting and so just going through the few points. Our first impression was that it was like a big picture and there was like an all-inclusive sort of a thing, and also that the painting obviously represented family. As a mood situation, we all sort of had that feeling that it portrayed sort of safety and security. So with the parents sort of, looking after the ducklings. And on a sort of an insightful basis, it was a matter of it was a parent sort of looking after and taking care of the children, but in a fashion we can look at everyone in that same sort of loving, caring fashion.
Yeah.
And treat everyone as though they're, well, from my age point of view, I could treat everyone as one of my children. And if I did that, I'd probably get along with people a lot better.
Oh, I think, well, that's great insight. Yes, that we treat everyone as our children. And Sin talks about mother's unconditional love, harmony, warmth, and selflessness. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Maybe we move on to the second set of paintings, and then we'll repeat this one more round. So I'm going to again ask for permission to share screen. Do you see this? Oh, good. There we go. The second round. Hello? Is anything happening? There we go. A grain of rice. So what you see here, this is one of my favorites. Actually, I cannot think of any piece that's not my favorite. But this particular one is Iwasaki's recollection of a severe food rationing that took place during World War II in Japan. And during that time, Iwasaki's mother told him that every grain of rice is very precious. You know how in East Asia, especially, the main staple is rice. And even though the grain of rice is so tiny, it's precious. So what he's painting here, you see, is actually his mother's hand holding on to a grain of rice. So in the back, if you're able to see, there's actually a hand. That's his mother's hand holding on to a grain of rice. And around the hand is the Heart Sutra. Isn't that beautiful? And it is so much reverence, as you can feel in the painting, around the treasure on which this grain of rice depends. And to contemplate on all the conditions required to bring that one grain of rice into being. Right? So much has to go into the planting, the harvesting, then the transport, the processing, washing, cooking, so many conditions before we can get a grain of rice. And there's actually another hand at the bottom. In a way, we are looking at all the many hands that go into making a grain of rice possible, and also the conditions of the earth, the nutrients, the clouds, the rains, the sun. So to reap the life-sustaining nutrients in a grain of rice, we depend also on microorganisms within our body. So think of all that goes into so that we can get the nutrients from that one grain of rice. So Iwasaki wants to remind us that to assure that the rice that we plant for future generations is not toxic, right? And it comes from planting it with love, avoiding the use of chemicals and pesticides, and also the ability to cook with love and attention. So all that is in the back of Iwasaki's mind, and to me at least, this grain of rice evokes in me a sense of gratitude to so many conditions that nurtures us in this vast cycle. And Iwasaki, I think from here, looks like he can taste enlightenment from this one grain of rice. So your turn now to take a close look at this grain of rice. That is encircled by the Heart Sutra. The question, what nourishes me? What nourishes me? How has this painting opened your heart of gratitude? Or you may go back to my guiding questions of what first captured your attention in this painting, what mood or emotion you felt, what insights you gained, and whether you found any new meaning that you could apply in your life. Take a minute. All right, my friends, I'm going to show you the next one. This one is like a question to you. Do ants have Buddha nature? Do ants have Buddha nature? Sounds pretty funny, isn't it? Well, it's transposed from a famous koan in Japan, a Zen koan. Do dogs have Buddha nature? And here the play of words is really around the word have. To Iwasaki, he thinks that there is no such thing as a fixed nature for dogs or ants. Rather, Buddha nature is in a flux. It's a fluid, dynamic process, not an object that one might have. So what he has done is that he has put the words of the Heart Sutra on this trail. So these are all the words of Heart Sutra, and they look like little ants crawling. So it's like the path. But you will see that there is a Buddha. So the ants are carrying Buddha. You know how it is? Sometimes you see ants carrying some object that they have found back to their nest. So in this case, they're carrying the Buddha. Very clever and just cute. Then in this procession, you will notice no beginning, no end. So endless, right? So just like life, the way life is being projected in the Heart Sutra. Ants are exemplars of collective living. And in fact, when a critical mass of ants come together, like in this case, they operate like one organism. Scientists believe that life on Earth will end when there are no more ants. So that's how important ants are. And that's why I think he's using ants. I mean, he's a biologist, so he knows all this. That what looks like inconsequential creatures are so important to our existence. So the shared reality that we have, that's what he's trying to portray. We don't have much time, so I'm just going to open up for you to now take a minute to look at this painting of Do Ants Have Buddha Nature? How has this painting opened up your view of the natural world around us? The little worlds. of ends. Or you may use my guiding questions. What first captured your attention in painting? What mood or emotion did you feel? What insights did you gain? Was there any new meaning that you can apply to your life? Over to you for a minute to see who supports your journey. Thank you so much for your comments in the chat. And we will, in the interest of time, go into the same circle. So I ask Sophia to maybe bring us back in the same breakout rooms, if that's possible. So there's no need for us to introduce ourselves to one another. And what we'll do is perhaps just take 5 minutes and share what you have in your journals. Would that be good? All right, I'll see you back in 5 minutes. Thank you. Please feel free to share your comments, or anybody online would like to unmute and speak too.
I was just wanting to respond to Venerable Juewei's invitation.
Yes, please.
About that grain of rice. There's so many Buddhist teachings arising. It reminded me of the paramis, all the virtues, including the one you mentioned on gratitude. We can be very grateful that we have rice, yeah. But also the preparation of food around rice, so much patience involved, so much tolerance. If you look at, as Thich Nhat Hanh points out, in that grain of rice, you can see from the farmer growing rice right up to buying it from the supermarket and then taking it home to cook. So much involved. So in just one grain of rice, there can be so many useful Buddhist teachings. So thank you very much, Venerable Juewei, for using these pictures to help us to get into the non-conceptual world, to get into a-dualistic thinking, and to feel various spiritual aspects of our life. Thank you very much, Venerable Juewei, for a very lovely evening. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Eng Kong. You expressed so well the fact that art is a gateway to the Dharma, especially when it comes from somebody who has used his life thing, to experience the Dharma and use it to overcome his own traumatic experiences until he comes out the other end. I think we can see it from his paintings. And to know that if he can do it in his 60s, so can we. We all have hope yet. So what I'm going to do now is going to ask for your permission to close with a checkout. I'm afraid that we would not have time to go over the next set, which was a bonus anyway. If we have, just in case we have extra time, I have some things up my sleeve to keep you happy. The one previously was a hydrogen atom. He used a Buddha to represent a hydrogen atom. And this particular one is very interesting. It's actually bubbles. If you know, the Diamond Sutra talks about how the bubble is, all these are illusions, and we let them go. Well, here are happy bubbles, all made up of the diamond of the Heart Sutra. And it reminds us of the illusion of life as well, but also the playfulness that comes along with bubbles. But anyway, I'm afraid that has to wait for another time. I will be happy to stay around for questions later because we're approaching 8:30. I'd like to just have us be able to end close to time. But if you have questions, I welcome you to stay and we can discuss any questions in the Dharma. As a way of ending, because Iwasaki actually tried to present wisdom teaching in very accessible form through his art, with the aim actually of healing people from delusions and mental afflictions, and to help them to wake up to what's happening in the world and the promise that can be out there for all of us. He did not, I think what is important is that he did not resist the circumstances of life. He has learned that that's all part of the energy, the dynamic fluxes that come with life. And he responded to the needful by distilling out all the mental afflictions that obscured his view of emptiness. And so that he can present the fullness of life instead. So whether it's fear during wartime or anger with the habits that's led to the climate crisis that we are in, he's transforming energies to release anything that is unwholesome and instead to deepen his understanding of the universe and find ways to share his learning through art. There are other ways that others have given us their expertise, and one of which is this continual process of translation. So I want to share with you what I consider to be one of the most accessible translation of the Heart Sutra. So this is not one of the ancient translations. It's very, very recent translation by Sensei Kaz Tanahashi and Roshi John Halifax. I find this quite different from everything else I've read before. So I want to share this with you as a form of checking out. It's called the Sutra on the Heart of Realizing Wisdom Beyond Wisdom. So wisdom beyond wisdom is their way of translating prajna wisdom, wisdom beyond wisdom. And instead of using the word emptiness, they use the word boundlessness. So instead of giving the feeling of emptiness and voidness, it says boundless, it's infinity. So let's read the sutra together. Avalokiteshvara, who helps all to awaken, moves in the deep course of realizing wisdom beyond wisdom, sees that all 5 streams of body, heart, and mind are without boundary, and frees all from anguish. O Shariputra, who listens to the teachings of the Buddha, form is not separate from boundlessness. Boundlessness is not separate from form. Form is boundlessness. Boundlessness is form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, inclinations, and discernment. O Shariputra. Boundlessness is the nature of all things. It neither arises nor perishes, neither stains nor purifies, neither increases nor decreases. Boundlessness is not limited by form, nor by feelings, perceptions, inclinations, or discernment. It is free of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Free of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and any object of mind. Free of sensory realms, including the realm of the mind. It is free of ignorance and the end of ignorance. Boundlessness is free of old age and death, and free of the end of old age and death. It is free of suffering, arising, cessation, and path, and free of wisdom and attainment. Being free of attainment, those who help all to awaken abide in the realization of wisdom beyond wisdom and live with an unhindered mind. Without hindrance, the mind has no fear. Free from confusion, those who lead all to liberation embody profound serenity. All those in the past, present, and future who realize wisdom beyond wisdom manifest unsurpassable and thorough awakening. Know that realizing wisdom beyond wisdom is no other than this wondrous mantra, luminous, unequaled, and supreme. It relieves all suffering. It is genuine, not illusory. So set forth this mantra of realizing wisdom beyond wisdom. Set forth this mantra that says, Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha.
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
May the merits of today's session be dedicated to you, your family members, to all sentient beings. May all be free from suffering and to be awakened to the boundlessness of nourishment in this world. We've come to the end, and if you'd like to continue the conversation, of course, please feel free to stay behind. Otherwise, you're also welcome to join the Nantian Institute's Communities of Practice, run weekly every Sunday at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Time. And of course, I'll now hand over to the Metta Center to announce their upcoming events. So over to Sophia.
Thank you, Venerable. You remember our procedures very clearly. Yes, thank you from my heart for this wonderful session. There's no words to describe how beautiful these paintings are because they're beyond words. They're adualistic, as Kong said. And I thought I would read some of people's comments today. Niran said, thank you. It was great meeting you all, learning and sharing together. Shiok said, thank you, Venerable. Indeed, we could spend a whole day looking at the paintings and let them speak to us. Bharat said, what a wonderful session, Venerable. Sing Sing, Thank you so much for the interactive, wonderful session. I probably can't go through everyone's. Oh, Benjamin. I think that's probably the last ones. Benjamin, thank you. Great, thank yous. And Khan, thank you. May you be safe, well, happy, metta. I think all of us felt so much metta, so much insights, and so much deep reflective contemplation from this session, and built some beautiful Dharma friendships too. So really thank you very much, Venerable, for this session.